Greetings, I am Tom Earl. On this week's episode, I interview the powerful, engaging, and musically soothing Nadjah Nicole. Check it out.
Hey, what's up?
Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of grace. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are here today sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy, it means the world to me. I am not alone. I have an amazing, powerful, dynamic guest. She goes by the name of Nadjah Nicole. How you doing today?
Hi.
Do you mind if I introduce you to the good folks out there?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Nadjah Nicole is from NBC's Emmy Award winning TV show, The Voice, and is a Delaware native. She was formally introduced to 10 million viewers during her 10-week run on the show. She's a talented singer and songwriter who has amassed an impressive resume. Nadjah has a soothing, soulful, and melodic vocal style that complements her soulful music. Performances are a standard serving of soul music. Nadjah's focus is on making an impact on the music scene. Along with her band, she performs original music as well as everyone's favorites. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Let's start right here. What's everyone's favorites?
Well, looks like we're gonna have to go back and edit. No, I guess classics. I love classics. I love taking old soul songs, old funk songs, some like R&B and updating it a bit, but keeping that soulful feeling no matter what I do. So like, Diana Ross, Shaka Khan, stuff like that.
If you don't mind, tell me if this is proprietary information, but in terms of the creative process, how do you stylize a cover like that? Do you just get the band together and feel it out, or do you come with a vision already of how you want to remix it?
In the past, I have utilized the band, like we'll be at a rehearsal, I'll say I want to do this song, and then we'll be kind of jamming and trying to figure out what we want to do. But recently, me and my husband have a studio in our home, and, we'll pick a song and we'll say, okay, let's figure something out. What do we want this to sound like? What do we hear? And we'll just try different ideas until something fits.
And so like you're just experimenting with it in the computer and stuff until you find something that matches exactly what you're looking for?
Yeah, my husband's a musician, so he plays guitar. So typically we'll grab his guitar, his bass, and we'll start, playing with sounds and time and, trying different things until we're like, wait a minute, that sounds good.
So if you don't mind, why don't you take us back? Where did you grow up? What was it like growing up for you? If any of that you're willing to share with us.
So I grew up in Newcastle, Delaware. My dad was a cop. My mom worked in pharmaceuticals, and we just had a regular little suburban life. But I always remember singing. My dad was a choir director and played gospel music. My mom played old school R&B back in the day. Like on Saturday mornings when we would clean. And I always remember singing, and I remember being good at it, and I remember feeling good while doing it. So they forced me to go to the choir, the church choir, and the choir director heard me sing, and she made me do a duet with my sister. And I remember feeling like, wait a minute, I like this feeling, So that's kind of where it started. I felt that, and I was like, all right, let's go somewhere with this. And I told my parents, and we kind of went from there, started performing out at talent shows and church events and school events and things like that. And it kind of just took off.
What do you mean by just took off?
Well, I live in a small state, so it's an even smaller town. And once people got wind of this tiny little girl singing these big songs, they started contacting my parents left and right. And before I knew it, I was singing at this person's wedding and this person's graduation party and this person's barbecue and, funerals, which is sad, but it was like I was the go-to person. And then as I got older, we started doing talent shows, and then different talent agents would contact my parents and, we want her to sign with us. We want to take her to New York. We want to do this. And the one thing my parents were always good about was understanding that even though I had a talent and it was something that I wanted to do, they wanted me to live a real life. And I had 2 other sisters, so it wasn't going to be a stop everything and move to LA. It was going to be, oh, well, she got a project to do and, she got class on Monday. So we're going to watch this clock for these performances. So I appreciate them for that. But every weekend, we were somewhere performing something.
What about in high school? Were you still doing the same kind of shows, or what was
Yeah, in high school, I went to a military high school. So the very first thing I did was go talk to the choir director, choir teacher, and told him that I wanted to be the singer for like the national anthem at the games. And I remember, I still talk to him now. He's like one of my favorite people in the world. He made me audition the national anthem to be in the advanced choir because I was a freshman. So I didn't want to be in just the regular choir. I wanted to be in the advanced one with all the seniors. And he made me audition. So I auditioned and everyone was like, oh, she's got to be in it. And he was like, no one auditions for this, right? And I was just like, really? So from that point, I was doing choir. I did the national anthems. I was like the go-to person for that. And then I started traveling with my commandant, which would be equivalent to a principal at a regular high school. He started taking me to governor prayer breakfasts. We would go to senator dinners and Democratic and Republican dinners and campaign parties, and I would sing the national anthem there. And word continued to spread that this little girl is singing her little behind off, and we just kept getting calls left and right. And I ended up going to Apollo Theater to perform at, I forget what it's called, shame on me, Amateur Night at the Apollo, I think it is. And I won when I was 16. Yeah. So that was really cool.
How do you think, you're such a humble person. How did you stay humble with achieving such, success and encouragement at such a young age? Sometimes that goes to young people's, minds because they're so young. How did you stay so humble?
I've never been asked that question. I guess I would say, number one, my parents, they were very, they made sure that I remembered who I was, no matter what. There was never a moment where I felt like I was bigger or better than someone. My family, just being around my family, and being around real life. And even though I had a talent, it did not stop people from making fun of me at school. It didn't stop, bullies and stuff. So I still lived real life. I just had a little sugar on top,
What was that like going to a military academy?
Oh God. I would definitely say it stunted me a little bit when it comes to my creativity. I couldn't dye my hair. I actually cut my hair in high school because they were like, it has to be in a ponytail or a bun. I was like, excuse me, please. But it was interesting. People were forced to get to know each other based off of personality, pretty much, because we all wore the same thing. We all learned the same commands. We had the same type of discipline. So we kind of had to humble ourselves and not worry about someone's shoes or purse or jewelry. It was like, I actually got to know people. It was interesting, I can't really say it was this or that, only because I don't know what it's like to go to a regular high school. I just know mine. So it's just, it was high school.
And so then what'd you do after high school?
I went to college. I hopped around college because I went to 3 different colleges. It just wasn't for me. And not to say that, I didn't learn. I learned a lot, but there was just something. It was music mostly that I was just like, I don't want to be here. I don't care. I want to sing. I want to be out. I want to experience things. And I sang all through college, doing talent shows, football games and homecomings and things like that. And then ultimately I ended up having my daughter, my firstborn, and I focused on her, and I just didn't go back.
You've mentioned a couple times, where you just knew music was for you, or your family reminded you of who you are. In college, you knew it wasn't for you. How did you cultivate this level of self-awareness that kept you in touch with your compass, your core of who you are? How do you cultivate that?
My parents spoke life into me and my sisters from the moment I could remember. It was always, you are talented, you are beautiful, you are blessed, you are this, you are that. So, you hear something enough, you start to believe it. And there have been moments, don't get me wrong, where I thought, okay, this isn't for me. I can't do it. When you fail at something, it's like, do I give up? Do I want to give up? I'm going to give up. But then there's that feeling inside like you're missing something, and I think when my parents spoke life into me, they planted the seed, and then I just helped it grow, so I guess I would definitely say it's because of them.
Do they know that?
Oh, they know that. They know that. They're always like, you better say something about me when you get on stage. Okay, Mom. All right, Dad. Okay, I got you.
Oh, that's awesome. So take us to the process of getting accepted on The Voice. What's that, if you can share the behind the scenes with us?
Yeah. So I'll be honest, I had no intentions of auditioning. I was like anti TV show, like stuff's not real. Oh my goodness. So we were on a family call and for a family reunion, and one of my cousins who actually lives out in Santa Clarita, she jokingly said, "Oh, Nadjah, The Voice is going to be in LA next week, or next month. Make sure you get your ticket and take off work." And I'm like, "Ha ha ha, great. I'll talk to you next call." Well, she called me 2 weeks before the date of the audition for LA, and she said, "Hey, did you take off work?" I was like, "For what?" And she was like, "Oh, we're going to buy your ticket to LA because we want you to audition." I was like, "Mary Mel, let's be honest." She was like, "No, you need to come. You're going to win." And I was like, "All right, whatever." So I did it. I got off work. I was like, okay, this is going to be great because in the end, I know I'm not going to get picked, but I get to be in LA. So I go to LA. I get up at like 4 a.m. I get dressed. I stand out, and I'm by myself because they can't go with me. And I'm an adult. I'm trying to remember that. You're an adult. You can do this by yourself. And I'm waiting for like 6 hours, and they pull us into the room, and there's like 10 people, and you go up one by one. I was the very last person to go up. And they were like, "Okay, we want you to stay behind." I was like, "What? Me?" So that was the first time, and I just kept getting called back. And right before the TV thing, I was just like, "This is really happening. Like, y'all ain't playing. Y'all really like me." So it was really interesting.
What song did you sing for your audition, if you can share with us?
Oh, what song did I sing? Oh, I sang "Love Is You" by Chrisette Michele.
How'd you pick it?
It was from my heart. Yeah. My heart. And I was like, okay, just sing it. Just sing it, girl.
So What was that like then? So you were on the actual TV show and on TV and everything? What was
Mm-hmm.
that like?
It was the hardest work I've ever done outside of childbirth. Like it was rough because people don't realize that people think that people come off the street and they're on TV. Like I've actually had people think that. And no, it's quite grueling work. There's a lot of rehearsals, a lot of vocal lessons, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of separation from your friends and family, secrecy, you know, everything that I was like not used to because I like to run my mouth. I like company. I don't like working on restricted diets. I like to eat whatever I want. So it was like complete change. And it made me think about the fact that these people out in LA and you know, in Hollywood and everything, they are like working. They are working. You don't just go out to LA and say, okay, I'm gonna act. And then you're not doing some work. Like it's real stuff. So when people ask me about it, I'm like, listen, are you serious? Like, let's get real. It's a tough job, but it was phenomenal. Like I had a wonderful time. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about my talent. The people were amazing. You know, the level of professionalism. When I came home, I remember thinking to myself, what y'all got going on around here is nothing compared to what they got going on out there. So don't come to me with your little show. No. But it was real. It was the real deal.
That's awesome. What year was this, if you don't mind sharing?
2015.
2015. So we had the social media was a thing. Did you notice people start to find you on social media?
Yes, I had a flood of people on my comments, in my DMs. It was pretty intense. My dad is my manager. Well, he was at the time. Now it's him and my mom. And he was like taken aback at the amount of messages we had on my website, on my Facebook, my Instagram. It was like, oh my gosh, we were like, I'm still sifting through stuff now where people were upset that I didn't answer them. And I had hundreds of messages. It was insane. There was a lot of love. And then there was some not so nice stuff that I wish I didn't see. But, you know, we live in that world and you just have to, take it one step at a time.
You know, a lot of times that whole process can suck the fun out of creativity for people. How did you stay in love with your craft and with the process?
Yeah, you know, there are moments where I've fallen out of love with it. I think one of the main reasons for me was being able to care for my children. Like before I had my twins, I just had my 5-year-old, and the fact that I needed to put food on the table for her is what kept me going. But to keep the creativity alive, like that flower growing, I'll be honest, it was really my husband who helped because he is a diehard musician. Like, I swear he came out of the womb playing the guitar. And his love for it, and like there's not a day that goes by that he's not listening, producing, working on something, and being around him 24/7, like we were, on days where I was like, I just can't do it. He was like, you can, and you will, and I love you, and I'm going to be here, but get up. So it was just, like therapy. Just, I had to work myself into it, and he was there to kind of like catch me if I fell.
You'd briefly mentioned a little bit of it, but what was it like going from that, around the clock schedule and intensity, and then when the show was done, what was that in between stage like, going back to your hometown and your family and everything? What was that process like?
It was, I felt like a fish out of water when I got back, because I mean, just speaking for myself, being on the show, I was so focused on being successful on the show, being good enough for America to vote for me, to love me. And when I got home, I had to basically block everything out. I didn't care about it. Like, my grandfather passed away, an aunt of mine passed away. I turned 24 at some point in there. I didn't remember my birthday. The following year, I thought I was 24 again. My mom's like, girl, you 25, get it together. I didn't remember that my aunt had passed. I didn't remember my grandfather's funeral. It was just like I blacked out everything and anything that didn't have to do with the show. And when I got home, I was bombarded with everything. And the realization that you're not going back, it's over, it was like a punch in the chest. I was trying to breathe and I didn't know how, because how do you go, half a year doing exactly what you want to do for your life to going back to work at the bank? Like where people don't care who you are. They're taking money out of their account, It was so odd. But I just surrounded myself with friends and family and my musician friends to kind of keep me motivated, because if I've been there once, I can go back. It might take a little bit more, but it's definitely a possibility. So it was just surrounding myself with people who love me to kind of keep me from falling into an extremely deep depression.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine, did you have a lot of people too feeling like hitting you up, thinking you had all of the resources and the connections? Did you find that happen at all as well?
Yes. It's so weird because I'm like, I'm trying to get $1. How you gonna ask me for $1? It was a little odd. People always, I think the biggest thing that bothered me was not that people were asking for things, but it was more so, oh, she's Hollywood now. I think I walked past a gentleman that I'd known for years, and he didn't speak to me. And I remember as I'm walking by, he said, "Oh, we can't talk to her because, she's a celebrity now." And I remember thinking to myself, where did you get that idea? What made you think you couldn't speak to me? And why would you say that to someone? I've never shown you a side of me that would make you, refer to me in that manner. So where did that come from? And it showed me people's true colors. It really did. And, you've got your good side and your bad side.
Yeah, it reminds me oftentimes it's more about other people than it has anything to do with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's your vision for the next stage in your creative journey? What's the impact you hope your music has in the world? Do you have any projects you're hoping to express yourself through? Can you walk us a little through that?
Yeah. I'm working on an album right now, and basically the concept that we're trying to achieve is living in your emotion, living in that emotion. And something, whenever I get into an argument with my husband and we're done arguing and he wants to reconcile, I'm like, no, let me be angry. I just want to be angry. And it's funny. I have this conversation with my friends. I want to hear something where people are okay with being sad for that moment, and living in that sadness just for that moment, because you're obviously upset about something. Don't try to pacify it with a song or pacify it with food or whatever. Just take the emotion and handle it head on, and then move on. So my music, I hope to reflect that thinking. And it's going to be incredibly honest, which is so cliche. But I don't know. I guess I'm being straightforward. There's not going to be many metaphors and things. It's just like if I feel like crap, that's what I'm going to say. I feel like crap. So I want to be an honest person. I want to be an honest artist where people don't feel like they're trying to decode what I'm saying, and they don't have to guess how I'm feeling. What you see and what you hear is what you get. And I hope that other people feel safe enough to do that because of what I'm doing.
That's awesome. What does it feel like for you when you're able to have a vision in your mind and like express it through a song, record it, and then you hear the playback? What's that moment like?
It's like taking a bite out of chocolate cake that you've wanted forever. We recorded a song, I think it was in December, and I wrote it. I randomly just started singing the melody, and then the words came to me like out of nowhere. And before we recorded it, I sang it and sang it and sang it until I cried. And then I said to my husband, okay, I'm ready to record it. When we recorded it and I heard it, I could just cry because it was so telling and it was so deep and it was so real of where I was in that moment when it came to me. So it was like chocolate cake, like, oh my God, this is amazing. Can I have more?
Except it's good for you. You can have as much of it as you need.
Right. A whole album of chocolate cake.
What's your advice for an artist, a creative who has that desire to express within them, but maybe they're judging themselves, or fear or perfectionism holds them back from really giving their all? Or maybe they even have a bunch of songs recorded, they're just not sharing them with the world. What's your advice to that person?
I'm going to use advice that I received from one of my most favorite artists in the whole wide world. His name is Bilal. He's out of Philly. And I went backstage and, we were just talking and he says to me, am I allowed to curse? Okay. Because this is a little explicit. But I can't remember what I asked him, but he just says, you just can't give a fuck. You just can't. And I have held on to that. I think he said that to me 4 years ago. And literally, that's what I think about. I can't. Because if you sit around all day worrying about what people are going to think, you'll never release anything. Because there's always going to be someone who isn't going to like you, who isn't going to like what you did, who isn't going to like what you said. So don't care. Because then there will be people who do. I mean, I have a song called Bubblegum that I had written intended for children. And I performed it at one of my shows, and two of the biggest, buffest men I have ever met in my entire life walked up to me and asked me where they could purchase that song. So if you really cared about what people, you wouldn't do anything. Just do it, because you never know who you could be helping, who could love it, and you could be helping yourself. So, yeah.
That's a touching story. I love that. So you might have heard me say at the beginning that this is my year of grace. And my intention is each year I pick my year of, and I explore the theme with my guests. So what for you is grace?
What for me is grace? That's a very interesting question. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I guess the only thing I can think of when I hear the word grace is a woman who can walk into a room knowing that she is beautiful and she's intelligent and she's kind and she's loved no matter what. And you can see it in her walk. You can see it in the way her hand moves when she's shaking someone's hand. You see it in her smile. Shoot, you can see it when her hair moves from side to side. Grace is confidence and loving yourself, knowing yourself, and being thankful for who you are and who God created. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Do you have somebody in mind that you're picturing while you were describing that?
My mom. Mm. My mom is like that. You can't tell her nothing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, where can folks listen to your music, reach out to you? Where can they share the love?
I'm on Instagram at Nadjah Nicole. I'm on Facebook at Nadjah Nicole. NadjahNicole.com. And SoundCloud, Nadjah Nicole. You know, just spell it right. That's it. Yeah, and I'm really active on my Instagram more so than anything else. So if you really would like to talk, reach out there.
And I can confirm that's how we connected. I commented on one of your questions of the day, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I love having engaging conversations. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. And it sure beats people, fake robot comments, follow stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God. Or the terrible captions like, he saw the light of my eyes in the daylight. Like, well, obviously, I would imagine it's daylight.
Oh. Well, folks who are on the go and weren't able to get all that, show notes today are tomrell.com/Nadjah. That's NADJAH. tomrell.com/NADJAH. And since he was so helpful and got so many shout outs, is there a place people can hear your husband's music or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. So his Instagram is @_call me Ishmael, and Ishmael is spelled ISMAIL_.
Okay, so, no H.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. He always like, is that your mail? And I'm like, or you could just say is in mail. I mean, that's the same thing. But do you?
Wonderful.
But he's a producer and he's an awesome musician, and he'll have a conversation with you as well.
That's wonderful. I'd love that.
Yeah. Is
there anything else you wanted to share that you didn't get a chance to speak to?
I am a mother first, above anything. So, acknowledge that and we're good.
What does motherhood mean for you?
Everything. Motherhood is life. Motherhood is love. Motherhood is creation and sleepless nights. But my babies are my everything, and I don't think I'd be as successful if it weren't for them.
Not to name any names here, but do you have any advice for anybody who may host a podcast who's recently gotten married and God willing, kids are in the near future? What's any advice for the folks that might fit that description?
Oh, yeah. Number one, when you have a partner who is interested in something, learn to be interested in it as well. Number two, make sure nothing is off limits conversation-wise. You should be able to speak to them about any and everything, even if you think it'll hurt. Because if you can hurt them with love, then they'll be more receptive of why you're talking to them about this thing that hurts. And number three, you will never have enough money for children. Never, ever, ever. But don't let that stop you from creating a legacy. Just love on that baby and love on your family, and God or the universe or your career will make a way. But love first.
Well, I don't know about the folks listening, but I think that's going to make some folks teary-eyed. That was really nice. That put me in feelings. I like that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
So I want to thank you once again for, taking the leap of faith, answering my DM and saying, sure, I'll give it a shot, random guy named Tom. So I appreciate it so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. So our closing ritual is to ask you, what would you like to invite people to do, to think, to consider, to be? What is your invitation to the folks listening?
I invite you to face your fears, because as Will Smith says, you're not truly living until you've conquered your fears.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much once again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. And to all those listening, as always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you.
One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.